It has been 7 whole years since I became estranged from my entire family. When I say family, I don't just mean my parents and siblings. I mean everyone, my relatives, cousins, aunts, uncles, and even people who are connected to me through my grandparents. The distance between us is so deep that even when my grandparents passed away, I was not invited to their funerals. This painful separation all started because of one single decision I made: to step away from our family business. Choosing not to be involved in the business caused a rift so big that it changed how everyone in my family treated me. Since then, I have felt completely cut off from the people who should have been closest to me. You see, I come from a family of farmers. For many generations, we have owned and worked on acres and acres of farmland that were passed down from our ancestors. Our whole family lives in the same hometown, and ever since we were children, our parents and grandparents taught us that one day we would become farmers too. Farming wasn't just a job, it was a way of life for us. Because of this, almost no one in my family really focused on their studies. Most of my cousins never even had the chance to go to college. Instead, they grew up learning the skills needed to work the land and carry on the family tradition. This was how things had always been, and it was expected that each generation would follow the same path. Although I was born into this farming family, from the very beginning I was a math genius. Even when I was very young, my teachers noticed something special about me. They would often tell my parents I had a unique talent for solving math problems and that my skills were far beyond what was normal for my age. Because of this, my teachers always encouraged me to keep learning and to challenge myself. I got the chance to join math camps, where I could learn even more and meet other kids who loved math like I did. I also took part in math competitions, including math Olympiads, and I was lucky enough to win some of them. Math became something I really loved and something I was good at, even though it was very different from what the rest of my family expected. At school, everyone absolutely adored me. My teachers and classmates were proud of what I achieved. I felt supported and encouraged there. But at home and within my family, things were completely different. My parents and siblings didn't seem to appreciate my talents at all. They felt like I didn't really need to be so smart or focus so much on my studies. Whenever I won an award or did something special, instead of celebrating with me, they accused me of showing off. It was like my success made them uncomfortable or even angry. My grandparents and cousins acted the same way. They didn't cheer me on. Instead, they loved to pull me down. They would tease me, calling me a nerd and making fun of me for being different. Felt like no matter what I did, I couldn't win their approval. Instead of feeling proud, I felt lonely and misunderstood by the very people who were supposed to support me the most. Everyone in my family made it very clear to me that prizes, awards, good grades didn't mean anything to them. They didn't care about marks or academic achievements the way my teachers and friends did. Their world was completely different. It was about the family, the land, and the business. So, when I graduated from high school and made the decision to go to college, it was like I was breaking a rule that no one talked about, but everyone expected me to follow. Instead of supporting me, everyone was against my choice. My parents were especially upset. They told me that by choosing college over working in the family business, I was going against family values. My siblings felt like I was abandoning them when I decided to leave the family business and go to college. They told me over and over that if I left them behind, I would never amount to anything in life. Meanwhile, my grandparents threatened to never speak to me again if I went ahead with my plans. Hearing that from the people I loved and respected so much was incredibly painful. It felt like I was being punished for trying to follow a different path. To them, my decision wasn't just about education. It felt like I was rejecting the life and traditions they had worked so hard to keep alive for generations. I was still young at the time, and seeing my family fight with me over my decision was really scary. Their anger and disappointment made me doubt myself and wonder if I had made the right choice by wanting to go to college. I questioned whether leaving the family business and my hometown was even worth it, especially when it felt like I was losing the people closest to me. But thankfully, my teachers were there to support me. They encouraged me to leave my hometown, follow my dreams, reminding me that I deserved to have a chance at something different if that's what I truly wanted. Looking back now, I'm so grateful I listened to them. Choosing to pursue my education opened up new opportunities for me and helped me grow in ways I never imagined. It was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made, but also one of the best. After I left for college, my entire family completely cut me out of their lives, acting as if I didn't even exist. It felt like I didn't matter to them at all. My parents and siblings never answered my calls or bothered to check in to see how I was doing. It was like I had disappeared from their world. When my siblings got married, I wasn't invited to their weddings. When my parents had their anniversary party, not a single person reached out or called to include me. And when my grandparents or other relatives passed away, I wasn't even allowed to come to the funerals. It was heartbreaking to be treated this way by the people I was born into and should have been closest to. All of this rejection hurt deeply, especially because the only mistake I made was wanting to follow a different path, one that didn't involve the family business. Instead of support or understanding, I was met with silence and exclusion. It made me realize how strong the family's expectations were, and how painful it can be to go against them even when you're just trying to follow your own dreams. All these years, I kept my head down and focused on what I believed in. I worked hard, studied diligently, graduated, and have done well in my career. It wasn't an easy journey, but I stayed committed to my dreams and to being true to myself, even when it meant being alone or misunderstood by my family. Now I'm happily married, and my husband and I have slowly built a business together. It's something we both believe in and are proud of. Looking back, I don't regret any of the choices I made. Those decisions gave me the chance to grow, to follow my passions, and most importantly, to find my husband, the love of my life. My past, with all its challenges, helped shape who I am today, and I'm grateful for the path I chose to walk. Recently, something unexpected happened. My parents reached out to try and reconnect with me. I was surprised when I found an email from them in my work inbox. Since they don't have my personal phone number anymore, I figured they must have found me through social media or somewhere online. I have my work email address listed publicly, so that's how they were able to get in touch with me. In the email, my parents wrote about how it's been a long time since we last talked, and expressed that they would love to reconnect with me. Reading their words has brought up a lot of feelings. After all, these years of silence and distance, it's strange to see them reach out like this. I'm not sure what to think or how to respond just yet, but it's definitely a moment I wasn't expecting. Honestly, reading that email has made me feel really confused. I don't understand why my parents would suddenly reach out after all this time, after years of silence and distance. At this point, they feel like strangers to me. It's as if I don't even know who they are anymore. The people I grew up with and once called family now feel distant and unfamiliar. Part of me doesn't want to reconnect with them at all. I've been living my life without them. And it's been painful enough already, but then there's this small, quiet voice inside me that keeps saying maybe I'll regret not giving them a chance. What if something happens to them one day and I never get the opportunity to talk to them again? That thought makes me hesitate and question my feelings. I'm not sure if I'm thinking clearly right now. It's hard to figure out what to do when so many emotions and memories are tangled up inside me. Maybe I just need more time to understand what I truly want. So Reddit, AITA if I decide to not reach out to my parents after it's been so long. Update 1. Hi everyone. First, I just want to say thank you, truly, from the bottom of my heart. I didn't expect the kind of support, understanding, and care I've received since sharing my story. It means more than I can express. Whether you shared your own experience, offered kind words, or just took time to read, please know it hasn't gone unnoticed. A few of you asked some thoughtful questions, so I wanted to take a moment to answer them here. 1. Have you responded to your parents' email yet? Not yet. Honestly, it still feels surreal to have heard from them after all this time. I want to be clear with myself about how I feel before saying anything. Right now, I'm still trying to make sense of what I want, and I don't want to rush into a reply just because I feel emotionally shaken. 2. Are you okay emotionally? I'm managing on the outside. Life is stable. I'm doing well in my career. I'm married to someone I love deeply. We've built a life we're proud of. But the email brought up a lot of old wounds I had pushed aside. I'm giving myself space to feel what I need to feel and trying not to pressure myself to have all the answers right away. 3. What kind of work does your family do? My family are farmers and they've been working the same land for generations. We have, or had, a lot of farmland and everyone in the family is expected to take part in the farming business. It's not just a job to them, it's a legacy, a tradition they've passed down over time. That's part of why my choice to go to college and do something different felt like a betrayal to them. Most of my relatives never left our hometown and education wasn't really a focus growing up. So me choosing a different path clashed with their beliefs and way of life. 4. What did you choose to study, work, instead? I studied mathematics, which has always been my passion. Over time, that led me into a career in data analytics and business strategy. Eventually, my husband and I combined our skills and built a small business together that uses data and tech solutions to help other small businesses grow. It's a far cry from farming, but it's something I love and something that feels truly mine. 5. Do you want to reconnect with your family? That's the hardest question. A big part of me says no, I don't want to open the door to pain again. But there's a quiet voice that keeps asking, what if you regret not responding? What if something happens and you never get the chance to say anything at all? I don't know the answer yet, but I'm giving myself time to figure it out without pressure. Update 2. So, I decided to talk to my parents. I ended up calling the number they had included in their email. They had actually been sending me multiple emails since I wasn't replying to the first one. And I guess they were trying hard to get some kind of response. I reached a point where I just needed to understand why. Why now? After all these years, they suddenly wanted to reconnect. I called because I wanted answers. I needed to hear directly from them what had changed. Why were they reaching out now after everything that happened? After years of silence, rejection, and being completely cut off from their lives, I had every right to be cautious. But I also knew I couldn't ignore it forever. So I picked up the phone, not out of emotion, but out of the need for clarity. Turns out my instincts were right all along. The call wasn't really about reconnecting or making things right. It was about money. They didn't even try to hide it or ease into the conversation. Just 5 minutes into the call, My dad came right out and asked me for $300,000 to save the family business. There was no warmth, no real effort to talk about what had happened between us, no apology, just a direct request for a huge sum of money. Turns out he had taken out a mortgage that he can't pay back. And now they're in serious financial trouble. And because I'm the only one in the family who has a stable job and a life built outside of the farm, they assumed I'd be able and willing to bail them out. It was so clear in that moment that their sudden interest in reconnecting wasn't about mending our relationship at all. It was about what I could do for them now. And honestly, it hurt. Not because I was shocked, but because deep down I had hoped, even just a little, that maybe they missed me. But instead I was just their backup plan. When I told my dad no, because obviously giving them that kind of money isn't something I could or would do, he and my mom completely lost it. They didn't take it well at all. Instead of trying to understand or talk things through, they immediately started hurling insults at me. They called me a good-for-nothing child, said they regretted ever having me, and claimed that the least I could do now, after all these years of abandoning them, was pay them the money, as if that was the only value I had to them. They argued that I should be able to easily lend them $300,000 because according to them, I'm rich now. They mentioned my social media posts, things I've shared about my life, my career, my husband, and used that to assume we're swimming in money. It made something very clear. This wasn't about reconnecting, healing, or making things right. This was purely about what they thought they could get from me. I told them plainly and without yelling that yes, I am doing well and I've built a good life for myself. I didn't deny that, but I also made it clear that this is my money, earned through years of hard work, struggle and sacrifice, and they have no right to it just because we share blood. That's when my dad snapped back, saying I owe them this money. He claimed that he and my mom spent thousands of dollars raising me, and that now it was time I paid them back. He tried to make me feel like I was in debt to them simply for existing. But I stood my ground. I told him that I never asked to be born, and what they did for me while raising me wasn't some grand favor. It was their responsibility as parents. Feeding me, clothing me, sending me to school, those weren't debts I owe. Those were the bare minimum things any child deserves. I told them if they were really in such desperate need, they should ask my siblings for help instead of coming to me out of the blue after years of silence. That suggestion only made them angrier. They argued that my siblings aren't doing well in their lives, that they're struggling financially and can't possibly help. At that point, I couldn't hold back anymore. I responded, "Too bad. You should have sent them to college too. Maybe then you'd have had a backup option." I know it was blunt, maybe even harsh, but I was done with the guilt, the manipulation, and the entitlement. They made choices about how to raise us. They dismissed education. They dismissed me, and now they're facing the consequences of those choices. My parents started yelling at me, but I told them calmly that I don't know them anymore. They chose to cut me off all those years ago, and in doing so, they also gave up any right to suddenly walk back into my life and act like they were owed something. I made it absolutely clear that they were not going to get a single penny from me, no matter what they said or how much they tried to guilt or pressure me. I wasn't going to be manipulated or used. That part of my life, the part where I was desperate for their love or approval, is over. After saying what I needed to say, I told them this conversation was done. Then I ended the call, blocked their number. It wasn't an easy thing to do, but I knew I had to protect my peace, my boundaries, and the life I've worked so hard to build. Some doors are better left closed, especially when reopening them only brings back the same pain you fought so hard to move past. I did share everything with my husband, the whole story about my parents reaching out, their demands, and how I handled the situation. He is just as shocked and surprised as I am by their sense of entitlement, He understands better than anyone how much this has affected me over the years. He knows about the nights I've spent crying because I miss my family, even though they treated me so badly. He's seen how hard it's been for me to cope with the pain and rejection, and he knows about the many therapy sessions I've been to just to heal and find peace within myself. He's really upset about everything that's happened, not just because my parents disturbed the peace I've worked so hard to build over the years, but also because they demanded something so outrageous from me. Asking for that much money, expecting me to just hand it over, was beyond unreasonable. He completely agrees that blocking them was the right decision. He supports me fully in staying away from them and protecting myself from any further pain or drama. Having him by my side through all of this has made a huge difference. He listens, supports me, and reminds me that I'm not alone. It's comforting to have someone who truly understands and stands with me. Update 3. Guys, things have escalated. It's been a week since my last update. My parents actually showed up at my workplace. When my husband and I arrived at the office, there they were, standing outside waiting. It was such a shock to see them after everything that's happened. They clearly found our office address on our business website. It was obvious they had come on purpose, knowing exactly where to find me, with the intention to confront me face to face. After all the boundaries I thought I had set, after blocking them and cutting ties, here they were, crossing that line without any respect for my space or my life. Thankfully, my husband was with me, and when my parents approached me and started demanding that I had no right to block them and that I should just give them the money, he didn't hesitate. He stood right by my side and made it very clear to them that what they were asking for was completely absurd. He told them straight up that they had no right to demand anything from me, no matter what their reasons were. Having him there made me feel protected. He also told them very clearly that he didn't appreciate them showing up at our workplace unannounced and trying to make a scene. He pointed out that in all these years they had never bothered to meet with us or reach out in a respectful way before. His words were firm but calm, letting them know that this kind of behavior was not acceptable and only made things worse. It showed them that we won't tolerate being pushed around or disrespected, not now and not ever. My husband can be pretty intimidating when he gets angry, and because he loves me so much, I watched in awe as he firmly put my parents in their place. The way he stood his ground and spoke up was powerful, something I really needed in that moment. My dad, who had been yelling at me and trying to start a fight, suddenly looked a bit scared of my husband. I could see the shift in his attitude right away. It was clear that my husband's presence and strength changed the whole dynamic, making my parents realize they couldn't bully or pressure me anymore. My mother tried to guilt trip me, playing the emotional blackmail card. She started talking about how much they sacrificed for me, how hard life has been for them without my support, and how disappointed they were that I was turning my back on my own family. Her voice was heavy with sadness, but I could see through it. It was all just a way to manipulate me into giving them what they wanted. My dad joined in too, urging me to think about the family legacy and how much the business meant to all of us. He told me that if I didn't help them, they would lose everything, the family business, the land, all the hard work that had been passed down through generations. He spoke about the family name and how we're supposed to stick together during tough times. But underneath all that talk was the same pressure to get me to hand over the money. But I saw through it. I knew he and Mom were just trying to pressure me to make me feel responsible for their mistakes. It wasn't fair to put all that weight on my shoulders, especially after everything I had already been through. No matter what they said, I stood firm. I wasn't going to let their threats control me or make me give up what I've worked so hard to achieve. I made it very clear to my parents once again that I would never give them the money. I told them that if they ended up losing their mortgage or even their land, that was entirely their responsibility. If they couldn't afford to pay back what they borrowed, then they shouldn't have taken out that mortgage in the first place. I wasn't going to take on the burden of their mistakes or their bad decisions. It was tough to say, but I needed to stand my ground and remind them that I'm not responsible for their financial problems. It's their choice. I have to protect my own life and peace above all else. My husband also warned them firmly that our workplace has security cameras everywhere, and we wouldn't hesitate to call the police if they ever showed up near us again. He made it clear that their behavior was not only unwanted, but also crossed a serious line. In the end, my parents had no choice but to leave. Watching them walk away from us felt like a weight lifting off my shoulders. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of relief and control over my own life. It was empowering to see them finally back off, knowing that my husband and I stood united and strong together. I admit, I'm still a bit shaken up from everything that's happened. It's hard not to feel unsettled after such an intense confrontation, but honestly, I'm so grateful I had my husband with me. Since that day, he hasn't left my side. He goes everywhere with me, just in case my parents decide to show up again. Having him there makes me feel safer and stronger. It's comforting to know that I'm not facing this alone anymore, and that I have someone who's ready to protect me no matter what. Even though the situation is stressful, having his support has made a huge difference in how I'm coping. Update 4. Since my parents showed up at my workplace, things have only gotten worse. My siblings and the rest of my family have started sending me hateful emails. It's not just through my personal accounts. They've even been sending nasty letters to our work address. It's like they're trying to intimidate me and make my life miserable. All because my husband and I refuse to give them money. I'm so exhausted from all this hate. It's hard to understand how family can turn so bitter and cruel just over money. They really think that if they behave this way, harassing me, sending me threats and insults, that I would suddenly change my mind and hand over the money? It's the complete opposite. After talking it over with my husband, I decided to report their harassment to the police. We want to protect ourselves and put an end to this madness. I'm done letting their cruelty affect me. No amount of hate is going to make me give in to their demands. I'm standing strong and I'm ready to keep fighting for my peace and my life. This is why my husband and I have also spoken with a lawyer to understand our options. We want to make sure that this doesn't continue, and that our family finally understands that their behavior has consequences. The lawyer advised us that we have a strong case for harassment and intimidation, and we're planning to pursue legal action against them if the harassment doesn't stop. It's painful to come to this point, taking legal steps against my own family, but after everything that's happened, it feels like the only way to protect ourselves and set clear boundaries. We are determined to stand up for ourselves and make it clear that this kind of treatment is unacceptable. Update 5. Hey everyone! It's been a while since my last update. Recently I learned that my family has lost their business. It's painful to hear, but I also wasn't surprised given everything that's happened. After they lost the farm, my parents sent me an email blaming me for their downfall. They said it's all my fault because I refused to help them financially. According to them, if I had just given them the money they demanded, none of this would have happened. They made it sound like I was the one who caused their downfall, as if I had the power to save everything but chose not to. However, in the same email, they promised they wouldn't harass me anymore. They asked me to drop the legal case my husband and I are pursuing against them. I guess they finally realized how serious this had become and are trying to avoid further consequences after losing everything. Right now, my husband and I are taking time to think this over. It's hard to know what the right move is. Part of me wants to believe they won't disturb me ever again and will leave me in peace. But I also don't want to trust them and let go of the protection we've put in place. So we're trying to weigh what's best for our future and for my own well-being. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.